Comfort is a silent trap. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't warn you. It just quietly convinces you that where you are is good enough, that you've done enough, learned enough, achieved enough. And the moment you start believing that, your progress begins to fade. See, comfort feels like a reward, but it's really a prison dressed in soft walls. You settle into it because it feels safe. You stop pushing, stop stretching, stop dreaming. And soon, what was once a moment of rest becomes a permanent address. Comfort has robbed more people of their potential than failure ever has. When you first start something, a business, a goal, a new habit, there's excitement, hunger, fire. You wake up with purpose. But once the results start to show, that's when comfort knocks on your door. It says, take it easy, you deserve it. And sure, rest has its place. You need recovery, but rest is meant to refuel you, not retire you. Most people don't lose their ambition because of hardship. They lose it because of comfort. Adversity builds character, comfort erases it. Growth demands resistance. Muscles don't grow without tension, and neither does your life. Every time you choose the easy path, you trade long-term progress for short-term peace. It feels good in the moment, but it steals your future strength. Here's what I've learned: the human spirit was not designed for comfort. It was designed for conquest. You were built to create, to explore, to expand. The moment you stop chasing new challenges, something inside you begins to shrink. You start existing instead of living. And existence without growth is slow decay. The most successful people I've ever met are never truly comfortable, not because they live in chaos, but because they've trained themselves to stay a little hungry. They're grateful but never satisfied. They celebrate victories, but they don't camp there. They use comfort as a momentary checkpoint, not a lifelong destination. You must learn to keep stretching the boundaries of your capacity. Push yourself to read more, to learn more, to give more. Don't let your mind or your skills grow stale. Every time you do something uncomfortable, every time you face a fear, take a risk, or push through fatigue, you earn a little more of your own respect, and self-respect is the foundation of success. Comfort whispers lies. It tells you that tomorrow will look just like today, so there's no need to hurry. But time doesn't stop for anyone. While you rest in comfort, the world keeps moving. Opportunities pass, competitors grow. Life rewards those who stay in motion. Now, I'm not saying you should live in constant stress. No, what I'm saying is choose growth over comfort. When something feels a little uncomfortable, that's your signal that you're growing. That's life inviting you to expand your limits. The discomfort you feel today becomes the strength you carry tomorrow. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding because it feels uncomfortable? Maybe it's that conversation, that project, that dream you keep postponing. Whatever it is, face it. The person you want to become is waiting on the other side of that discomfort. Remember, comfort may give you pleasure, but growth gives you purpose, and purpose will always outlast pleasure. So, the next time comfort calls your name, smile at it, thank it, but don't stay too long. There's a world outside your comfort zone, one filled with lessons, opportunities, and breakthroughs you can't even imagine yet. Step out, stay hungry, and keep moving, because life rewards the ones who dare to grow beyond what feels easy. Doubt is a quiet destroyer. It doesn't make noise. It doesn't announce its arrival. It creeps in softly, whispering small lies that grow louder with time. Before you ever fail in the real world, you often fail in your mind. Doubt convinces you that you're not ready, not capable, not worthy. And the tragedy is, most people never test whether those beliefs are even true. They let doubt become the guard that keeps them from entering the life they were meant to live. You see, failure is not your real enemy. Failure teaches. Failure refines. Failure gives feedback and direction. But doubt paralyzes. It stops you before you ever begin. It turns opportunity into hesitation and turns dreams into questions instead of action plans. That's why I say, doubt destroys before failure does. Failure at least gives you a lesson. Doubt gives you nothing but regret. Think of how many great ideas died in silence because someone doubted themselves. A business never started, a conversation never had, a chance never taken. Not because it couldn't be done, but because someone said to themselves, what if I'm not good enough? That small phrase has buried more dreams than any external obstacle ever could. The mind is powerful. It can create miracles, or it can manufacture prisons. When you feed it doubt, it starts collecting evidence to prove you're right. It reminds you of every mistake, every criticism, every moment you fell short. It becomes a lawyer defending your limitations. But when you feed it belief, it works the same way in your favor. It starts finding reasons why you can win, why you can improve, and why the future can be better than the past. The mind simply amplifies what you choose to plant in it. You don't overcome doubt by pretending it's not there. You overcome it by acting in spite of it. Every time you move forward when you're unsure, you weaken doubt's hold. Each small victory builds evidence that you are capable. And soon, confidence stops being a feeling and starts becoming a fact. Confidence isn't something you wait for. It's something you build through motion. Remember, this belief is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. But if you neglect it, if you constantly surrender to doubt, it weakens. You have to train your belief the same way you train your body, with daily reps. Speak positively about your future. Set goals that stretch you, and keep promises to yourself. Those are the workouts that build inner strength. And when that familiar voice of doubt returns, and it will answer it with action. You don't debate with doubt, you prove it wrong. Let your results silence it, because once you see what you're truly capable of, doubt begins to lose its power. The truth is, nobody ever feels fully ready. The people you admire, the achievers, the leaders, the innovators, they all face doubt. But they made a decision to move anyway, to take the next step even when the path wasn't clear, and that's where growth happens, not in certainty, but in courage. Don't let doubt steal years of potential from your life. Take imperfect action. Learn as you go, because every step you take while uncertain builds a foundation of confidence for the next one. And when you look back, you'll realize that the only thing that ever stood between you and your progress wasn't ability or opportunity. It was doubt. You can live your life defending your limitations, or you can live it discovering your possibilities. One keeps you safe, the other sets you free. The choice is yours. And when you finally choose faith over doubt, you'll find that failure was never your enemy. Hesitation was. Distraction is one of the most deceptive enemies of progress. It wears the mask of productivity, making you feel busy, but in truth, you're running in circles. It gives you the illusion of motion without direction, of action without advancement. You check off small, meaningless tasks and feel a sense of accomplishment, but deep inside, you know nothing truly important has moved forward. The danger of distraction is that it doesn't always look harmful. It often feels useful. That's why it's so powerful. Every day, the world pulls at your attention. Notifications, conversations, entertainment, endless scrolling, and constant noise, all competing for the same thing, your focus. And focus is the true currency of progress. Whoever or whatever controls your focus controls your future. You can't build a meaningful life if your attention is scattered. The person who learns to master their focus becomes unstoppable because they operate in a world where everyone else is chasing shiny objects. It's not that you don't have time, it's that your time is fractured. You start one thing, jump to another, and end the day exhausted but unfulfilled. The brain rewards that behavior with quick hits of satisfaction, but those moments rob you of the deep work that changes everything. Distraction doesn't just waste hours, it steals your potential. And the worst part, it feels normal. Everyone is distracted, so it becomes acceptable. But average habits create average results. Jim Rohn once said, either you run the day or the day runs you. Every moment you give to distraction is a moment you take from your dreams. The key is awareness. You have to catch yourself in the act of being busy without being effective. Ask yourself throughout the day, is this moving me closer to my goals or just keeping me entertained? That single question can change your entire direction. Progress requires depth. You can't do deep work in a shallow state of mind. Turn off the noise. Create environments where your focus thrives. Schedule distraction, free time blocks where your only goal is to move one meaningful thing forward. When you commit to that kind of focus, you'll be amazed at how much progress you can make in a short period. What took you weeks before can be accomplished in days. The greatest achievers aren't the ones who do the most. They're the ones who do what matters most, consistently. They've learned that saying yes to everything is really saying no to what's important. Distraction thrives in a life without priorities. Once you define what truly matters, everything else becomes noise. The clearer your vision, the easier it is to ignore the unimportant. But here's the truth: distraction isn't just external, it's also internal. It's that voice in your mind that says, check your phone. You might be missing something. Start tomorrow. You're tired today. These are self-created distractions designed to protect you from the discomfort of focus. Real focus demands presence, and presence can be uncomfortable because it exposes where you truly are versus where you want to be. But facing that gap is the only way to close it. So, train your focus like a muscle. Every time you resist the urge to drift, you grow stronger. Every time you finish what you started, your confidence rises. The discipline of focus becomes your competitive advantage in a distracted world. While others scatter their energy, you concentrate yours, and energy, when focused, becomes power. Distraction is the enemy of excellence. It doesn't destroy you suddenly, it erodes you quietly. It trades your greatness for convenience, your potential for comfort, and your vision for entertainment. But you can reclaim your attention. You can decide today to stop being busy and start being effective, because progress doesn't come to those who move the fastest. It comes to those who move with purpose. ChatGPT said, excuses are the language of stagnation. They are the gentle, reasonable sounding voices that justify why we're not where we could be. Every person has dreams, visions, and desires for a better life, but excuses become the invisible chains that keep us tied to mediocrity. They don't shout, they whisper. They tell you it's not the right time, that you're not ready, that the circumstances aren't ideal. And if you listen long enough, they convince you that staying still is safer than moving forward. But progress and safety rarely exist in the same space. Excuses are dangerous because they sound logical. I don't have enough time. I'm too tired. I don't have the right resources. These statements may have a hint of truth, but they hide a deeper truth that fear, procrastination, or a lack of discipline is in control. Excuses build comfortable prisons. You stay within the walls you've built, telling yourself you're being smart, cautious, or patient. But in reality, you're standing still while life moves on without you. Jim Rohn used to say, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. That's the antidote to excuses. To take responsibility and decide that your growth is your job. The person who makes excuses is always waiting for perfect conditions. They want to start when the weather is right, when the economy is stable, when they feel more confident. But perfect conditions don't exist. Progress belongs to those who start despite the imperfections. The great achievers didn't wait for everything to be in their favor. They moved forward with what they had. They made adjustments along the way. Progress isn't about having no obstacles. It's about refusing to be stopped by them. Every excuse you make today adds one more day to your delay. You might think you're waiting for the right moment, but in truth, you're teaching your mind to avoid discomfort. Excuses are mental habits, and like all habits, they can be broken. The moment you decide to replace "I can't" with "I'll figure it out," your whole life begins to shift. You move from a place of helplessness to empowerment. You stop seeing obstacles as barriers and start seeing them as challenges that build character. Excuses also rob you of credibility, not just with others, but with yourself. Every time you say you'll do something and don't, your subconscious takes note. You weaken your own trust. Soon, you stop believing your own promises. But when you act, even in small ways, you rebuild that self-trust. And that trust becomes the foundation of self-confidence. Confidence doesn't come from motivation, it comes from keeping your word to yourself. If you want progress, trade your excuses for effort. Trade your comfort for consistency. Trade your doubts for discipline. Excuses demand nothing of you. That's why they're attractive. Effort, on the other hand, requires sacrifice. But that's the price of advancement. You can't grow and make excuses at the same time. One must die for the other to live. Remember, success doesn't ask if you had time, resources, or the perfect plan. It only asks, did you do the work? The future doesn't reward intentions, it rewards execution. So the next time an excuse rises in your mind, recognize it for what it is. The language of stagnation, refuse to speak it. Replace it with the language of progress, the words of responsibility, action, and persistence. Because when you stop making excuses, you start making progress. And in that moment, you'll discover something powerful. It was never your circumstances holding you back. It was your explanations for them. Change your words and you'll change your direction. Progress begins where excuses end. Fear is a test, not a stop sign. It's life's way of asking, how badly do you want it? Everyone feels fear. The entrepreneur before launching, the athlete before the big game, the speaker before stepping on stage. Fear is universal. What separates the successful from the unsuccessful is not the presence of fear, but their response to it. The average person sees fear and retreats. The achiever feels fear and advances anyway. Progress belongs to the one who steps forward while trembling. Most people wait for fear to disappear before they act. They think confidence comes first and then courage. But it's the other way around. Courage is what creates confidence. When you act despite fear, you prove to yourself that you're stronger than the emotion that tried to hold you back. Every act of courage weakens fear's control over your life. Every step forward rewires your mind to trust yourself more. The lesson is simple. Action dissolves fear, hesitation feeds it. Think about this. Fear doesn't mean stop. It means pay attention. It's a signal that growth is near. Every major breakthrough in your life will come wrapped in a little bit of fear. That's why most people never experience breakthroughs. They stop at the edge of their comfort zone. But beyond that edge lies a version of you that's more capable, more confident, and more free. Fear isn't your enemy, it's your invitation to evolve. When fear whispers, what if you fail? You must learn to respond. What if I don't try? Because the pain of regret will always outweigh the pain of risk. Failure teaches, regret tortures. You can recover from failure, but you'll never fully recover from wondering what could have been. That's why fear must become your teacher, not your jailer. It's there to test your commitment, to measure your belief, and to strengthen your resolve. Courage doesn't come from pretending you're fearless. It comes from admitting your fear and choosing to move anyway. The brave don't lack fear. They've simply trained themselves not to obey it. They understand that on the other side of fear is growth, reward, and freedom. When you face what frightens you, you reclaim your power. When you hide from it, you hand that power away. Fear often disguises itself in logic. It says, no's not the right time, or you're not ready yet. But let me tell you, fear never leaves. You'll never be fully ready for your next level. Life rewards those who start before they feel prepared. The great ones act, and the act itself prepares them. Progress doesn't wait for confidence. Confidence grows out of progress. Every time you overcome fear, your world expands. You start to see possibilities that were invisible before. Opportunities that once intimidated you begin to feel natural. That's how growth feels, uncomfortable at first, empowering later. The moment you realize that fear is simply energy waiting to be redirected, you become unstoppable. So the next time fear shows up, before a decision, a dream, or a big change, don't let it stop you. Let it remind you that you're alive, that you're stretching, that you're about to grow. Fear is not the enemy, paralysis is. Keep moving, even if it's one small step at a time. Every act of courage rewrites the story of who you are. Because fear was never sent to block your path, it was sent to prove you're ready to walk it. When you pass the test, life opens doors you didn't even know existed. So stand tall, take a breath, and remember, fear is just a test of how much faith you have in your own potential. And those who pass it move forward into a life that fear no longer controls. Progress is built on daily choices. It's not a one-time decision, not a burst of motivation that lasts for a week, but a rhythm, a consistent pattern of choosing growth over comfort, purpose over distraction, and action over delay. Every single day, life gives you countless chances to decide who you're becoming. And it's in those small, almost invisible choices that your future is quietly being shaped. Most people wait for big moments to change their life. a promotion, a new year, a lucky break. But success doesn't come from rare events. It comes from what you repeatedly do when no one's watching. The person who wakes up 10 minutes earlier to read, plan, or stretch their goals forward is building a foundation that others will only see later. You don't need a massive transformation overnight. You just need daily decisions that move you 1 inch closer to where you want to be. Progress doesn't shout. It whispers through habits, discipline, and small wins. It's the choice to study instead of scroll, to save instead of spend, to act instead of wait. It's in the quiet mornings, the late nights, and the moments when quitting seems reasonable, but you choose to continue anyway. Every day, your choices are casting votes for the person you're becoming. Choose wisely, and soon you'll become someone who doesn't just dream about progress, you live it. Discipline is the bridge that connects decisions to destiny. You can have goals, but without daily discipline, those goals are just wishes dressed in fancy language. The successful person doesn't rely on how they feel, they rely on what they've decided. Feelings come and go, but commitment stays. That's why progress belongs to those who learn to do what's right even when it's not easy. Every time you choose effort over ease, you strengthen your character. Every time you act with integrity when no one's watching, you invest in your own greatness. Think about the power of one simple decision repeated over time. One healthy meal doesn't change your body, but hundreds of them do. One day of study won't make you wise, but years of learning will. One kind gesture won't transform the world, but a lifetime of kindness changes everything. That's the beauty of compounding. What seems small today becomes massive tomorrow. That's how life rewards the consistent, not the occasional. The truth is, progress doesn't require perfection. It just requires persistence. You will slip, get tired, lose motivation, and doubt yourself. That's normal. The key is to keep choosing to rise. Every time you fall and get back up, you're strengthening your identity as someone who doesn't give up. The habit of recovery is just as important as the habit of action. That's how you stay in the game long enough to win. People often overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in a year. Imagine what your life would look like if, for the next 12 months, you made one better choice each day. Read instead of watch. Move instead of sit. Speak truth instead of complain. Those small decisions will quietly construct a version of you that your future self will thank you for. Progress isn't about speed, it's about direction. It's better to walk steadily toward your dreams than to sprint for a week and stop for a month. Momentum builds when you're consistent, not when you're perfect. Each day is an opportunity to vote for your future, to prove to yourself that your goals matter. So, when you wake up tomorrow, remember this truth. The difference between average and extraordinary is not one giant leap. It's 1,000 small steps taken with intention. Because at the end of it all, success is not built in a day, it's built daily.